Well, hello, good morning, and welcome to this webinar about global service learning. The reason that we're doing this is obviously we have some crazy times, and typically I would be presenting this to a classroom full of undergraduate students. But because of the crazy times, we are doing it as a webinar, and your teachers are going to send it out to you so that you can see what we have to offer, the opportunities that you can have to do some of these service learning experiences, and how it can change your perspective on things and how it also adds to your resume. There are so many benefits to doing service learning that we want to share that with you guys. We want you guys to be able to go and do some of these experiences and see the world in a different perspective. So I've prepared a little presentation here, and this is typically the presentation that I do when I am in the classroom talking to undergraduate students. And they typically have questions. So if you find yourself asking questions at the end of this presentation and you want to know more, you can always get in contact with us via our website. And it is super easy. It's www.ardenti.net, and it's spelled exactly the way that you see it on the screen. So it's ARDENTI. So it's www.ardenti.net. And if you go to the Contact Us page, that links directly to me. So if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to know more, or you want to know how you can sign up, you can just go straight to that website, go to the Contact Us page, and send me an email, and I get it right away. Typically, I can respond to your emails within 24 to 48 hours. It usually doesn't take that long. I try to get to you guys as soon as I possibly can. But within 24 to 48 hours, you will receive a follow-up email from me answering your questions. We can also chat on the phone. That's something that we can set up during the email processing time. My phone number is actually on the website, so if you have questions that you just want to text me, feel free to do so. I get texts from students all the time, so that's not a problem. If you want to text me, that's completely fine. Again, that number is on the contact page, as well as all the other pages. Any page that shows you where our office is or anything like that, that phone number is my direct phone number. So if you guys have questions, you have concerns, you want to know more, you want to sign up, any of those things, you can find out how you can do that via our contact page at www.ardenti.net. So let's get started, and we are going to talk about the different reasons on like how I got here, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then move through what we do, how we do it, where we do it. And I'm even going to let you guys see a short little video of a student that has actually done one of our trips at the end of this. So stay tuned. Let's get through this together. So why are we here? We are here because I have a passion for educating young people. Education is in my genes. It's what I went to school for. I have my degrees are my undergraduate degree are history with teaching certification, and then my master's degree is international development. So working with partner communities for sustainability and growth, but also bringing you guys into the loop and letting you see exactly what that looks like, feels like, tastes like, smells like, all the things. We want to get you out of the classroom and into the real world, into a setting where you can put your hands on things and you can see what things look like. And most of the time, I do a lot of the Belize, which is what we're going to be talking about today. The Belize trip is a lot of education majors. Education majors love this trip. The reason that they love this trip is because they get to actually get in a classroom. They get to work with the teachers. They get to work with the kids. The teachers and you guys, the undergraduates, work together in the classroom, and you share feedback with one another. There are also, sometimes we do workshops with the teachers so that we can bring creative ideas into their classroom, and they can provide feedback on, how the kids felt about it. We'll do lesson plans and show you guys how to implement that in the classroom. It's just a really overall amazing experience, especially for education majors. That is not to say that it's not for um, any other majors. We make this trip for every single major. So let's say you, and I'll talk more about this throughout the presentation, but let's say you, for instance, we had a film major that came with us on one of our trips, and the way that we incorporated his major into um, the trip was he actually, we went on the news, the morning news show there in Belize City on Love FM. They actually have, Love FM is actually a TV station and a radio station. And so we got Jonathan and Danielle, our two film majors. We had two of them over there. And Danielle actually got to work behind the scenes, like with the cameras and stuff like that. And then Jonathan was actually part of the morning show with me and another of the students. So it was really a cool experience. And the other students that were not film majors, that were not part of the actual set, were standing in front of a green screen. And when the news people would ask them questions, it would show them on TV and something would be behind them. I'm not sure what it was because to us it was green screen. Anyway, it was pretty cool. But we incorporate all majors into these trips. So yes, while Belize really appeals to education students, it doesn't mean that you have to be an education student to actually love this program. We've had nursing students, we've had computer IT students, we've had, let's see, what are some of the other majors? We've had marketing students, business education, we've had psychology students, sociology students, all of them have human services. These are all majors in which we actually make these trips, you know, kind of custom tailor fit to whoever's on the trip. So like we did that with the film for an HSDA major, you know, human services. We did we had 3 human services majors on one trip one time, and even though we were still in the classroom, and we also do an after school program, we still made time. We went over to foster care home, so it was like a children's group home there in Belize, and the human services majors were able to ask questions and see how the foster care system worked there in Belize. It's just a really interactive experience that we provide. So doing all of this just seemed to make sense to me because I love educating. I did not want to be stuck in a classroom every single day educating. One day that might be my thing. Right now, not my thing. So I decided that I wanted to take you guys and show you guys the world and put you guys in an environment conducive to learning through experience. So that's why we did it this way. So moving on, what do we do? What does Ardenti do? We participate in what's called fair trade learning. And by fair trade learning, what that means is that everybody in the transaction is getting something out of the transaction. So in other words, we're not going into a country to change anything they're doing. We're not going to say what they're doing is wrong. We're not going to show them how we can do it better. We are going there to learn from them, and we learn just as much from them as they do from us. So we are equally participating in this experience, and it has turned out to be such a rewarding thing for this actual school that we work in and the children that we work with, because it is such a impoverished community that that they don't really have a lot of interaction with anybody other than these teachers and the people right there in this community. So it's been super rewarding having them see a different type of person come into their classroom, different ethnicities. They're able to see kind of how we work. It's really exposed them to how, you know, a different type of culture. And in turn, it also exposes us, obviously, to a different culture. These are fully immersive experience. And when I say they are fully immersive, you are going, this is not a tropical paradise vacation. that you are going to go and you're going to lay out by the beach with a tropical smoothie or whatever you guys like to call them these days, by a palm tree and listen to the ocean lapping. That's not what these trips are about. We are fully committed to immersing you into an experience and showing you exactly what that experience feels like. And you get so much out of it at the end of the experience. So, for instance, I like to tell students when I'm presenting to them in their classrooms, I tell them, you guys start out kind of right here. And throughout the process of the 10 days or the 2 weeks, whichever the trip is that you're taking, the one in the fall is 10 days. But throughout the process, I see your perspectives go here, your perspectives and your emotions. They go up here, then they are down here, then they're up here, then they're down here, and then they're up here, and then they're down here. And throughout the entire time that you are participating in this experience, that's you processing everything that we're doing. And because of that, we do mandatory unpacking and what we call reflection every single night. You also receive a journal, and we encourage you very strongly to keep a journal of your experience the entire time you're there, because you will be able to look back on this experience and use it in whatever profession that you decide to do, especially if you are going to be an educator. So we really, really encourage you guys to keep that journal, to write down everything that you're feeling, experiencing, the emotions that you're going through, what you've seen, what you would do differently, what you could do better. All of those things are encouraged in journaling. And we also go over a lot of those things when we are reflecting. A lot of times the reflections, they take their own shape. We do it at night after dinner. And they usually end up, there's a lot of crying a lot of times. People just kind of processing these emotions that they feel. And it's such a therapeutic thing that we do, and it really shows everything that everyone is getting out of the experience. And through that, you are also able to kind of see what someone else sees differently than the way that you see it. So it's just an amazing experience. You do get hands-on classroom learning. You are literally in that classroom with that teacher for about 4 hours each day. We go at 9, we end at 12, so I guess it's about 3 hours. And during that time, you are in that classroom the entire time. If you and the teacher, you guys kind of collaboratively work together. They can ask you if you will help them grade. A lot of times what they're doing is they are asking you if you will work one-on-one with a particular student, or they will ask you if you'll do a group activity with a group so that they can work one-on-one with a student. It really just gives those students a real good foundation to be able to, sit down with a teacher one-on-one, because they just don't get that often because of the size of the classrooms. We do after-school reinforcement through our after-school program. Now, we have been doing this after-school program since summer of 2017. We started the summer program, which was 2 weeks long, and then we'll do the after-school program every time we're there, which is about 3 to 4 times a year. And what the after-school program is we will go to what's called the Gateway Center after school. All the kids walk there in the afternoon. Sometimes, depending on what kind of transportation we have and how many students we have, we will actually bring the van down there and pick up the students and bring them back to the Gateway Center. We usually have about 60 kids there. That's my cap, so I always say 60 and that's it. No, don't send me any more than 60, because we don't want it to be like crazy. And typically we always have 60 kids. And that being said, we'll get them down there. And what we do with the after school program is we do 4 modules. One of them is like PE and team building skills. The other one is creative snack making time. Then we have art or craft making, and then we do what's called the computer room. And I do need to caveat that by saying that there is a computer room, and we would like to be putting these students on the computers and letting them get that computer time, because they do not have it at their school. However, resources in Belize City, especially at the Gateway Center, although it's fairly modernized, resources are just not as they should be. And so a lot of times when we get into the computer room, the computers are not working. And so we end up having to improvise and do some. I usually take exercises to do with the kids in the computer room based on the knowledge that I may not have computers to work with. So you guys don't ever have to worry about that. We'll go over all of those things in the pre-trip meeting. And I will show you whoever is going to be in the computer room with the kids in the afternoon. I'll show you this is what we're going to do if we don't have computers, and then we go over everything. You will not go into this blindly. You will not go just randomly into some place and start dealing with kids. That's not the way that I want this to happen, and it wouldn't be fair to you or those children. So we always have a pre-trip meeting. We sit there for as long as it takes for you guys to, be very comfortable in what you're going to be doing when you get there. You have a packet that shows you every single thing that you'll be doing, and something that you can go over and kind of acclimate yourself to. So you're not going just flying blind. You're just, you go in very prepared. I don't do things half behind, and you'll find when you are working with me that everything is always, we're always very prepared on all the things. Now, that being said, in Belize, I do need to let you guys know, in Belize, there is a thing called when in Belize, you do what Belize is doing at the time. So that we typically in every trip will have plans. Like I will give you guys, I'm so kind of prepared that I give you guys a schedule, an itinerary of what we will be doing every single day down to the hours and the minutes of what we'll be doing and where we'll be. And a lot of times at the bottom of that schedule, it's going to say, this is subject to change at any moment, because in Belize, that's just what happens. You kind of have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to think outside the box and just go with the flow. If that is not something you're comfortable with, I do not encourage you to go on this trip, because that's kind of part of the process of this whole thing, is that sometimes you just have to change like that on a dime, and you have to figure out how to do it. And honestly, I feel that that's a good teaching tool, because you will do that in your classroom or wherever, whatever career that you are looking to be in. You will at some point have to change something that you're doing just like that, and have to adapt to that change very quickly. So I don't find that to be a bad thing, but if it's not your cup of tea, then I don't recommend this trip. And then we get a broad understanding of culture. So the broad understanding of culture is you are going to be a little more culturally competent when you get back from this trip, because we're going to kind of explore everything that you're seeing and hearing, and how these people react to things and do things differently than we do. And you will be able to kind of process that in a way that that you can put it in a compartment and know, okay, this is how people act differently than me, and how I can adapt to that instead of asking them to adapt to me. So that's kind of that's what cultural competency is being able to adapt to the culture and the environment around you, without asking people to do that for you. So moving along, our community partner benefits through teacher workshops and student training. And the reason that I say that is because a lot of times the teachers will ask us, when our teachers come in and they do like exercises with the kids, or they implement some type of teaching tool that they're using or that they would like to use and see how it works. A lot of times the teachers will say, hey, can we do some workshops on those things so that we can know how to do it in the classroom once you guys leave. So that kind of benefits the community as a whole, because the teachers are learning new things. I will stop here and say that the teachers that are teaching in these classrooms typically only have about 2 years of teacher training. So all of my education students that I'm talking to out there in virtual land, you guys know how many years of training you get before you actually get into a classroom. There's a whole lot of student teaching. There's a whole lot of you know, before you even get into the College of Education, you're taking classes about education. And then once you get into the College of Education, you are full on receiving all the training you need to get out into the community and have your own classroom. That said, these teachers a lot of times have the equivalent of a associate's degree, and they have their own classroom. So it is very beneficial for them to see new things and see creative ways that they can implement teaching techniques into their classrooms. Sustainable living techniques, if you can look at these pictures, one of the things that we did when we were there with one of the classes was we got a grant to do a literacy-based bucket farming thing. It was so cool because we were able to integrate literacy into bucket farming. And the way that we did that was we showed them how to bucket farm different vegetables and fruits, and you know, showed them how to take care of the plants and how they can provide food from these plants. But we also had them journal. So each student that participated in the bucket farming got a journal, and their journal had to be kept every single day. So every single day that they were writing in their journal, maybe their teacher would say something like, they would give them a prompt. They would say, you know, spell tomato plant or whatever. And this is just an example, but they, you know, maybe one day it was spelling, and then the next day the teacher would give them a prompt about if your plant had a name, what would it be and why? And then they would write a story about what their plant's name was and why they named it that. Or maybe they have a story about, you know, if they took their plant home and they brought it back, what happened while they were home, or whatever the case may be. But it was integrating the literacy into this planning process. It also gets the students engaged in the planning process because they are now invested through literacy in this whole thing, and they actually are super engaged in making sure that the plants are sustainable. So it's a cultural immersion for everyone involved. So you get it, they get it, we all get it, everybody's happy, and we just have a great time. Take a sip of my coffee. So what does a typical trip look like? So what we do is we have immersion into community through classroom assistance, after school programs, and student workshops. And I think I've kind of touched on that a little bit. A lot of actually throughout the last few slides, but basically, again, this is just us getting into this community, rolling up our sleeves, learning about this community. And I promise you, when you go home, you know these kids. You know these kids when you go home. You know their names, you know their faces, you know a lot about their lives. You know, I mean, you just get in there and you actually learn about this community. That's what I love about this whole thing, is the fact that, you know, you guys, you're not just going in and kind of doing this little trip. You're going in and you're learning this community. It's just an amazing experience. We have cultural assimilation through excursions designed to educate while integrating your experiences. So we go to the Mayan ruins, we go to cave tubing, we go zip lining, we go to the ocean and do snorkeling, and we swim with stingrays and sharks, and that's optional. However, I always encourage it. I have 100% return rate. I have not left anyone behind in the ocean or otherwise. So I do highly recommend getting in the ocean and swimming with the sharks and stingrays. We have a beautiful, beautiful lady that does all of our excursions. Her name is Natalie. She literally goes with every single one of our groups, and she teaches you guys all about the marine life. We go to different villages around Belize. Sometimes we'll go down to Placencia. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to be doing this fall. Everything's kind of been crazy since everything happened with the virus, but I do know that there's always a snorkeling, swimming with sharks and stingrays, and trip to Keycocker, which is one of the islands off the coast of Belize. That always happens. So that's a given. That's going to happen. And then it could be one of the other things listed here that we do. as our other excursion, because there are 2 excursions while we're gone on a 10-day on our 10-day trip. And then we also meet with the top Ministry of Education officers for Q&A and dinner. And why is this beneficial? Because especially if you're an education major, number one, you are sitting with the Ministry of Education, the Chief Education Officer. Her name is Dr. Carol Babb. She comes to all of these dinners. You are sitting with Dr. Carol Babb, and you can ask her anything you need to ask her about how the school system works, how they do things, what their teacher training is like. One of the students even asked what teachers get paid in Belize, and they couldn't believe the answer. And then, you know, you get this knowledge from somebody who runs the country's education. It is phenomenal. And then on top of that, what a great thing to put on a resume, right? You know, and then also, what if for some reason you wanted to possibly teach abroad, and maybe Belize is one of the places that you want to teach? You now have interacted with the Chief Education Officer of the Ministry of Education of Belize. So it's just all around, it's a good deal for you guys to sit and have dinner with Dr. Babb and her. She usually brings her literacy, the person that's in charge of literacy with the Ministry of Education. Her name is Dr. Rose Bradley. And then a lot of times Dr. Babb will invite us to her house, and we'll have dinner at her house, and she loves karaoke. So we sing karaoke, or sometimes we'll go to this other restaurant called the Bird's Eye Restaurant, and we'll sing karaoke there. It's just a really good time. She's so down to earth, and she absolutely loves what we're doing, and is just really on board with making sure that you guys have the best experience that you can possibly have. So if ever there's something that you guys want to do, such as when the human services students asked me, can we go to any type of group home or foster care or whatever? And all I had to do was pick up the phone and say, Dr. Babb, I need to take some students to a foster care group home. And she had it set up within minutes. So if ever there's something that we need to do, I never have to worry that if there is some type of major that maybe, you know, we need to, for instance, nursing majors. I called Dr. Babb. I said, Dr. Babb, I need to get the nursing majors over to the hospital so that they can see what the Belizean hospital looks like. She got it all set up. We went into the hospital. They learned about all the different ways that Belize takes care of healthcare. And then they also learned that, and I learn every time I go there too. So they also learned how the whole entire country of Belize only has one CT scan machine, and they were blown away. So getting a CT scan in Belize is probably not the easiest thing to do. So moving on. These are the 2 videos that I would like for you guys to watch. I'm going to press play, and since you know, I would love for you guys to stay in this webinar and watch these videos. But if for some reason you have to go and you have to turn me off, then you can come back in and see. Well, you can see these videos on my website at any time. All of these videos are on the website. I have student testimonials on the website, also student videos of different students that have gone on these trips to kind of tell you what their experience was like. One of them is here. Her name is Jalissa. You're going to see what hers looked like to her. And then, you know, we'll look at this other video of what we do while we're there. It's kind of it shows you a full picture of what we do while we're there. Again, if you guys have any questions or concerns, or you guys want to sign up, I know that some of the questions that are usually asked are, how much is it? Because there is a cost to it. I don't take you guys for free as much as I would love to. I am not a rich person. So there are program fees associated with this. I can tell you that every single program fee that I have for any of my trips is under $2,000. And I also make sure that you guys can pay monthly payments. I have people that are paying right now to go on our November trip. I had one girl, Jalissa, the girl that's going to be in this video that you're about to watch. She decided she wanted to go on this, but she needed very low payments. So she decided a year out to start paying. We do not charge any interest. It is literally, here's the cost of the trip. We're going to break it up into this many payments. This is what you can pay. We do it by what you can afford. We will go a month after you guys get back from your trip. So in other words, if you guys want to go in November and you start paying now, we can break your payments up until December. So we will go a month after. We don't go any further than a month after because typically it's kind of hard to find you guys when you are, moving pieces and student teaching and so forth and so on. Plus we have to pay our bills. So there's that. We also, if you guys are kind of unsure about how to book flights, we do go down on the same plane, to Belize, and we also come back in the same plane. So if you guys don't want to book your own flights, then I can do that for you. The flights are not included in the program fees that I give you. So let's just say this trip to Belize in November is $1,300. So $1,300 plus your airfare is still going to bring you under $2,000. So we can. The only thing that you have to come out of pocket for upfront is your airfare. And then we do a small deposit, and the deposit is basically holds your spot. The deposit does come off of your balance. So in other words, you give the deposit and then we take that off the total of your trip. It is non-refundable only because we start making plans for you the moment that you decide to sign on. So the deposit is $300 and it is non-refundable. So make sure that when you sign up for this trip, this is something you want to do. And when you make that deposit, just understand that it is non-refundable because we're going to start working for you the minute that you sign up. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and start these videos. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out via our contact page on www.ardenti.net. And you can text me, you can call me, you can email me, whatever you prefer. And I look forward to hearing from you all. So let's take a look at Jalissa's video here.
I would describe my trip to Belize as amazing, life-changing experience. I'm Jalissa Flores, and I'm a UNG student, and this is my identity story. So I have only traveled out to California because that's where we're from, but outside of the country, I have never traveled besides this trip to Belize that I took in March of 2019 with Ardenti. This was my very first service learning trip, and I was really looking forward to going out there and experiencing what it's like to be able to help the children and see how they learn. I believe that Ardenti made the most affordable trip to Belize for me. I don't think I would have ever been able to go to Belize or leave this country if it wasn't for Ardenti. They made it very, very affordable, and it was a trip of a lifetime. And we went on 2 excursions, and that was really awesome. I had never gone snorkeling before, and I was able to experience that with Ardenti and the girls that I went on the trip with. And it was a really awesome experience. The ocean was really blue and beautiful. But then once we got to Monday was the best day. So we went to the Unity School, and we were able to meet all the children there, and we had the experience to go to the classrooms and be able to help the teachers with the children. And that's really what I went on a trip for, was to experience that hand in hand with the teacher experience, so that when I go into the teaching field, I know what it's about. And that was what spoke to my heart the most, was being in a classroom with other children that I've never known before. And I was able to build relationships with them that last till today, because I'm able to look at pictures of them from trips that Jennifer keeps on continuing to go to. And I can see that they're growing up and they're really learning from Ardenti. What Jennifer is doing with Camp Toucan and Belize is really amazing for the children. They look forward to going every year, and that, like, you can really see that in the children. So at Camp Toucan, what we did during the whole week is we had like lesson plans, and we were able to do arts and crafts. There was a computer room that the kids were able to go into and get on the computers to learn more literacy. But yeah, we played with the kids. We did like a PE also. We were outside, we were playing with them. We also incorporated chalk, and with the chalk, we asked them, okay, go write this word. And it's just all about literacy, learning how to read and write. I think Camp Toucan means an experience that they won't forget. That it's like a memory that they'll cherish forever. Myself and Lindsay ended up with the older kids, the 12-year-olds, the last 2 days or so, and they were just really amazing. There was one student in particular that caught my eye, and he only spoke Spanish. So I was like, oh, yes, like this is awesome. I can talk to him, and I can translate for him to the other people that went on the trip. And he just told me that he was from Guatemala and he had to move to Belize with his parents because they were running away from the life that they didn't want. And they're at United. They found like what they wanted, and they've been there ever since. So at Camp Toucan, the very last day, the kids gave us these little cardstock paper with, and they wrote their names on them as like a memory, like to be able to remember them. And I know that they really loved this idea. This was Jennifer's idea. We knew nothing about it. The last day she was like, I'm gonna take over art. And we were like, okay, that wasn't part of the plan, but okay. And this is what they did on art that day. They just all wrote their names, and some of them wrote hearts, like Valeria. Valeria wrote 2 hearts on her name. And I love this. This was the best gift that I got. It put like a huge smile on my face. I think my favorite moment on this trip was being able to play with the kids and being there for them. Whenever they needed something, they would be like, Miss Jalissa, can you help me with this? Or how do you spell this word? I'm like, well, how does it sound? And I think my most favorite part was just being able to enjoy the kids and help them and care for them, because you kind of become like their mom. Like they just out of nowhere will come and give you a hug, and you're just like, okay, come here, give me a hug. But yeah, I think my most favorite part was their hugs. Their hey, I'm glad you're here today. So I think that this trip to Belize helped prepare me to become a teacher, and it really enforced that I want to become a teacher, because now I'm currently working as a parapro, and I love it. Like, I wouldn't change my career path at all. I know that this is where I want to be, and this trip to Belize with Ardenti really showed me that that's where I want to be. I want to work with kids, and I want to be there for kids that need support emotionally and mentally, because a lot of them don't get love and caring at home, but they get it at school, and that's the most important thing. Ardenti Global Service Learning. Go passionately.
So there you can see Jalissa's story, and you know how it affected her personally, and how she was able to afford the trip, and how she kind of changed her perspective by seeing these things, and being able to be in the classroom with them. Jalissa is one of my favorite alumni. I say that, but they're really, I get connected to each and every one of you guys that come with me. So there are so many things that we go through together as a group that just kind of bonds us after the fact. And I still keep up with every single one of my alumni from 2016 on. Most of the time I'm friends with them on Facebook or their social media, maybe Instagram. They follow me. They follow our dentist so that they can see what the kids are up to. I have had what's called repeat offenders. So I have had several people take trips more than once because they fall in love with the children and then they have to go back. So those are, it's just a bond, and it's an experience that you'll never forget. So let's look at what we're doing as a whole in this last, I promise it's only about 7 more minutes, and then we're done. But this is the last video and what we do kind of as a group while we're there. Ardenti Global Service Learning is an organization that really wants to immerse students into different cultures, different situations, and really show them the benefits of fair trade learning. And what I mean by that is every person in the transaction gets benefit from what they are experiencing. So students that are going on any of our trips or staying here local, working within the community, are experiencing what it feels like to be a part of that community. But also our community partners are experiencing new cultures coming into their area. They're also experiencing working together with different personalities, and it's a mutually beneficial experience for all parties involved. We get ready and we pack up on a plane and we go down to Belize, and everybody comes in and still looking like they are deer in a headlight and don't know what's going on, and that's the way we like them to look when we get there. After the students have gotten kind of used to their digs, we go and do an excursion. We went on a jungle boat tour this last time, and we ended up at the Mayan ruins, Lamanai. It's a long walk up to the top of those things, the temples. But it was beautiful, and it was so cool to see how those structures are still there, and there's so many more that we don't even know about. So they get to see the beauty of the country, of where they'll be staying for the next 10 days. So the Unity School is near and dear to my heart. It's kind of my family now. They are a school that's in a very impoverished district of the city. We put them in the classroom. We let them assist the teachers. That gives the teachers in the classroom the much needed one-on-one time with those students that are struggling with literacy. It's extremely appreciated and very beneficial to those younger students as well, because they don't get that one-on-one time as often as they should. Camp Toucan, actually, when we first started Ardenti, this was our very first startup project, and we gathered a group of students at University of North Georgia to help us come up with the model that Camp Toucan was going to look like. The kids come every single day after school, and they're able to be kids for a minute. And that's one of the biggest things to me, is they have so many stressors in their life that I want them to be able to come and just be a kid. Every time we come, they send us the most in-need students. So these are usually typically non-readers or emerging readers. When they come, we have 4 modules. Our modules are creative and healthy snack making. We do computer literacy lab, where they're actually able to get 45 minutes on a computer, which is something they never see. So that's very beneficial to them as well. They get a literacy program that they work through. We also do art, and through art we also incorporate literacy, and then we do team building skills, which are showing them that they can rely on their peers. The impact that it has had on that community is they've learned to trust the students that come. These kids are the most loving. They have no problem showing affection, and they just want to know that somebody's there, that somebody's gonna be there, and that somebody's gonna help them have their voice. And I think that's what we're doing there. I think that's the impact we're having right now. Our vendors in Belize know so much about the cultural history of the country that they are constantly teaching our students while we're doing these excursions. Everybody is just as invested in teaching our students about the holistic experience of where they are. So we have Natalie, who is the most amazing tour guide of all tour guides. I love her so much. Natalie is in Belize, and she is so informative about everything from the time we get in the van to get on the boat. She starts teaching all of our students all the things about either Belize City or about what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. When we get out to the reef, she teaches them everything there is to know about the reef.
I've been on a snorkeling trip before, but never where the guy like swam with you through the water and was like, "Hey, look at that! That's what that is." It was really cool to experience, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
When we do our reflection at night, we start at a certain place, and you can tell that the students are kind of trying to understand and process what they're seeing, especially in Belize.
I have been to other countries and experienced things similar to this, but I've never been in a classroom in a school setting seeing what it's actually like for kids other places to get an education.
Especially as a mom with a kid their age, like I was comparing them to Jackson and the classroom that he's in, and all the stuff that he has, and these little kids. Sorry, don't have like 1/10 of what he has, and they're just smiling up and just so happy that he's this silly American lady that keeps making faces and telling us to put our hands up.
To know that they can come to Camp Toucan, even if it's just for 2.5 hours, and kind of chill and sit back and relax and play games and smile and laugh and goof off and be kids, that's why I think it's so impactful.
What's different about Camp Toucan being here when they're not here?
If you want to take a vacation, take a vacation. If you want to immerse yourself in a cultural experience like nothing you've ever experienced before, and you want to come back feeling like you have given every single part of yourself, Ardenti is where you need to be. Ardenti Global Service Learning. Go passionately. So that kind of just gives you a look at what we do while we're there and why you want to be there and why you want to do one of these experiences. One of the saddest things and the happiest things of that last video to me, and I'll leave it with this note, is the impact that we're having. One of the children was asked, what's different about when Ardenti is not here than when they are here? And the little boy said, when they're not here, I don't know where to go. Now, as heartbreaking as that is, it lets me know that when we are there, he does have a place to go. So I'll leave you guys with that. If you guys have any questions, concerns, you want to know about pricing, you want to know how you can get set up on a payment plan, any other questions that you may have about these trips. We do other trips to other parts of, like we have a Jamaica trip. That's on demand, which isn't very often because a lot of people think that Jamaica is unsafe, so they don't ask to go to Jamaica. Although I know that that's not true. It's just not an easy trip to sell. We also go to Austin, Texas, and we work with a tiny home community for the formerly chronically homeless. That's more of a human service-based trip, but also a great learning experience. And then we also do Cherokee Nation, where we work with Native American population and their foster care system. So also, again, those two are more human service related, but a great learning experience for anyone to do. But Belize is kind of our, we're the only program of our type in Belize City. And so we kind of, that's our baby. And so we just nurture our baby and grow with our baby. So as long as you are interested in going to Belize and seeing this amazing culture and meeting these amazing people, we would love to have you. There is an application process. I will tell you this before we go. But once you email me or text me or call me or whatever the case may be, I will direct you to that process, or you can just go to it. On the website, there is a drop-down menu and it says apply for a trip today. I think it's under the Y Service Learning. You just have to play around. I don't have it up and to look at it, but there's a tab that says apply for a trip today, and that's where you would apply. That's where I get all of your information. And if I will tell you this, if you've lasted this long with me throughout this webinar and you are at the end of this and you have looked at this webinar and you have said, this is what I want to do, I want to sign up. If you give me webinar 500 as your coupon code, I'm going to give you $500 off of your trip. So if you give me webinar 500, you can get $500 off of your trip. That does include the price of airfare. So basically what you're doing is you're paying for your airfare with that code. So if the airfare is $500, which is usually roughly around $500, your entire trip would be $1,800 and you're paying $1,300. So that being said, just get in touch with me if you have any questions. www.ardenti.net.